make a junk journal with nothing but free printables? Yes, and I'm going to show you how to put all the different colors, all the different patterns, all the pages together. So if you've had trouble working out what goes with what and even putting a theme together, you will not have to worry about it anymore, because in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I printed all my printables on A4 paper size and 100 GSM, but you could use everyday 80 GSM copy paper as well. Now the first free printable I'm going to show you is one of my own designs. The front is a cheeky, coffee-pleasing wife ad, and the opposite side is a coffee theme as well. And this one's my honeybee envelope, and I've also added this background printable. You can print this on the back of the envelope or on any of the other pages. This one's from the Graphics Fairies website. You could use it as a page, but it's actually designed to be a tear page. Like you can see it's in strips. So you would just tear it off the instant. You could use it on this envelope. I cut the ends off these envelopes and I made a little file folder out of it. So I used all the scraps that were left over from all these prints. And if you like these envelopes, I've got them in my shop description below. And this beautiful page here is from 𝗵𝗵𝗍. And to get this one, you'll have to join her Facebook group. I'll show you later what I print on the back side here. You'll love this one. It's from the Old Design Shop. You get this from her website, and this one as well is from the Old Design Shop, but I printed this one smaller. I printed it on the 8x10 inch setting. And this one here is a beautiful page from Amity Bloom. You'll have to head over and join her Facebook group to be able to get a hold of this one. The next one up is from 𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗋's website. These pages are beautiful. This is from her background free kit. After I printed all these other pages, I went back and I added a lot of these background papers to the back side of the other printables that I've just showed you. So this one is 𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗋's as well. I've also added 𝗃𝗵𝗸𝗍's page in the mix. This pretty pink page has worked well, and I printed this one on the back side of it, and I loved it at the time of the print, but when I went to put it in the journal, it didn't go, so I replaced it with this page here. To make it a lot easier for you, I've made up a cheat sheet. This is going to show you what papers I used on the front and what I used on the back. So you'll be able to download this. It's in the description box below. We're going to start with the cover today because we're going to make it for making our pages with either A4 or letter size copy paper. I'm making my cover using this 12x12 cardstock. You could use the center fold of a magazine, or you could use a craft cardstock and cover the other side with collage. Or you have the choice to use anything you like. You can use these heavy duty book pages. As long as it comes out of a large book, it will work. I made this cover using this book here. I'm using an A4 to size my cover, but where I say A4, if you're using US letter, just swap it out. I've marked my sheet at 220 wide, and an A4 sheet is 210 millimeters high. If you want it a little bit wider, just make it as wide as you like. Using the A4 sheet, just pencil mark around the edge, 220 wide, and the height of your paper. Now cut that out, and this is the shape of your cover. And now all you're going to do is fold it in half, corner to corner, and do a finger crease. And I'm going to use the leftover piece to make a pocket later on. I'm cutting out a second A4 sized sheet on my cardstock, and this is just to show you the difference between the taller, narrow little junk journal, because you might like the wider journal on the left more than the one on the right. You can choose which one to make. Your A4 paper page printables is going to fit in both. I'm cutting out a really wide scoop in the pocket. You can use your hole punch here and just cut a little hole punch smack bang in the center. And distress ink the edges before we glue it down. I'm using the Barely Art glue. It's got a lovely fine tip, and I'm only gluing a straight line on either end, and I'm doing dots across the bottom. I'm only doing this because I'm going to sew my pocket in place. If you're not sewing, you would put a straight line of glue all the way across the bottom, because you would need to glue your pocket down properly. If you love to sew around the edges, try this. It looks really awesome. I'm using 2 different colour threads. I put 2 colours on the top, one on the normal thread spool, one on the bobbin spool. Bring it through the machine as normal, thread the 2 colours through the top needle and only the light colour in the bobbin. So I've just ducked off camera and stitched around the edge. Now for step 2, we're going to get the pages ready. I've added a cheat sheet on my website to show you what prints I've used on the front and back of which pages. I've also added their links to this cheat sheet. First page is my own design from JunkJournalideas. You can fold it with the design facing this way or the 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏 facing up this way. Here's my tip for tearing off very narrow borders. Put your steel ruler on the white area to your left and run your fingers down with the ruler. Each time you tear, move your finger along with each tear. I'm going to put the cover on the page and show you how much smaller the page is after we've cut or torn the border off. Now I'm not going to waste time taking the border off the ends because I'm going to shorten the pages. So I fold this one in half and I'm going to the next page and I'm going to tear the top and bottom off. And this one I'm only going to fold in thirds. So not all your pages have to be folded in half. And this is so you can see the pretty bird. I want to be able to see it. I've gone through and I've torn all the tops and bottoms off. I've folded all the pages either in the middle or off to the edge a little bit. And now I'm going to fold this piece here. This one, I'm going to turn it around to the portrait position and I'm going to fold it with a very short edge on the front, and I'm going to use a part of the tear sheet on the graphics fairy page, and I'm going to glue it down to fill the gap where there's a piece of paper missing. And I glued another piece of this tear sheet on the back to cover the white part. If you were doing nothing but using printed digitals in your journal, you would go ahead and stack them all inside each other in the order that you want them, and then you would tear off the ends here. But I'm going to look at adding some more pages in between these digitals. So you could use some recycled brown paper bags, and my favourite, coffee dyed paper, avocado dyed paper, and these are pages out of an exercise book that I picked up from the charity shop. And I love this one here. My husband was throwing out his old diaries and I rescued them, and I even threw them in the coffee water. I love these scrappy edges. The good thing about making a junk journal like this is that you do not need to worry about a theme. I've made this journal with no theme. I went through all my favourite creators. I picked out a whole heap of digitals that I could download for free, and they all complement each other. The only thing I think that they have in common is they might have a little bit of pink in them and the coffee dyed colour. The first thing I always like to do is open up my cover. So the inside of my cover, I want to pick the page that you're going to see first. So I always make sure I start with that. And then, because I like to make my journals a combination, so I put lots of blanks and lined paper in my journals. So I'll go a printed or a patterned sheet, and then a blank sheet, a pattern sheet, and then a lined sheet. And I alternate all the way through the journal, and it doesn't have to be 1, 1, 1, 1. I might put 2 lined papers, 1 printed, or 2 printed papers, 1 lined paper. I don't give myself too many rules. I like to do it, look at it. If I like it when I flip the page, I'll leave it there. If I don't, I'll come back and change it. Mostly always, I'll come back and change it. You'll notice this is why I haven't torn the width of my pages off yet. I've left them really wide, and they are in the road. It stops me from getting a good look at what I want to do and how the pages look beside each other, but it gives me room to move things around. Because if you tear your pages off the width, you can't move them around as much. You can if you don't care how wide your pages end up being. See this pink page here? It's 𝗃𝗵𝗱𝗲𝗍. On the back side of it, I printed this dark page, and I've changed my mind. It's too dark. I can't get it to look good with anything. Because these are digitals, it is so easy to print a new sheet. So I reprinted 𝗃𝗵𝗱𝗲𝗍's light pink on one side and printed 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝗱's her background print on the opposite side, and now I can put it in here and it looks so much better. I'm going to add my diary page in here, and I'm going to put the scrappy bit down the bottom. Now I've got all my pages in the places where I want them. I'm going to use the very first page as my guide and put a light pencil mark on the edge of it to the second page. I'm going to use a ruler and just tear off the bit that's hanging out, because I'm going to have my pages all torn and level with this first page. Even though it's a bit scrappy, this is the look that I'm after. I just keep on opening and closing my front page, put a pencil mark there, and I go to the next page. Now you'll see this one here, it's just a little bit too small to rip off. It's much easier to take all my center pages out, turn them on their side so I don't lose the place where I want this to go in. I turn the whole page around so that tiny little strip I want to tear off goes underneath the ruler, and I go back to that tip I showed you earlier. Use your fingers to nudge your way down the ruler as you tear. It's much easier to tear off a small piece of paper this way. Then I pick up the center pages of my journal and put that page back in its proper place. And you just go all the way through all of the pages, marking each page as you go. You can even take the whole page out and tear 2 together if you want. But if you want your pages to all fall at the edge of your first page, take care to do it this way. If you want them all at different widths, you don't have to worry about doing this. Just tear them off wherever you want them. I'm down to my last page. Now I've torn this off, I can get my pages and do a test fit in the cover. And you'll see what I mean by all my pages have been torn off at the same width. They're just inside the cover. We're up to step 3 already. I'm going to show you how to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I'm going to use embroidery floss. In this journal here, I made this one off camera, and I'm just showing you here how you would sew in an envelope if you wanted to use an envelope in the center page. And here's the skinny journal with nothing in the center page, which is what I'm going to do. And after I finish showing you how to sew, I'm just going to attach this envelope on the page here with some washi tape. I've provided a template for you. It's the 3-hole template, and it's as tall as an A4 sheet for this journal, or a letter size, whatever you're using. You'll need a large eye needle and whatever thread you're going to use to sew your pages together. Just cut out your template and fold it in half with the print side going to the inside of the fold. Now open up your journal and push all the pages with your thumb. All of them have got to be pushed in as tight as you can get them towards the spine. Once you've done that, put your template in there and grab a couple of pegs and put one either end of your journal. Now I forgot to mention you'll need an awl. I use this bookbinder's awl, but you can use a pokey tool. I lay my journal flat on the table and I put my awl on the dot, and I almost close my journal and I push the awl through so that the point will come out right on the crease of the spine. And just push that all the way through all of the pages until you come outside the cover. Do that on all 3 of these dots. Now it's important that you don't remove the pegs, but you will be removing the template in a minute. So leave these pegs in place and just loosen them up a little bit and pull this template out. I'm using a pink embroidery floss. I think it'll go cute with my little girl on the cover. And I'm using 2 lengths and just a smidget more of the height of my journal. I'm starting with the center hole on the inside of the journal. So I put my needle in that center hole from the inside and I come out to the outside. I'm leaving a tail on the inside. Then I'm going to get my needle and I'm going to come back through the top hole on the outside, and I'm going to bring that back through to the inside. Now I've got a running stitch on the outside and I'm going to skip the middle hole and I'm going to put my needle in the bottom hole and bring it back through to the outside of the journal. Now this tail, I'm going to pull it, so I'm going to pull it up towards the top of the journal so that it's out of the road, because I have to bring my needle in from the outside back into the center, and I don't want to put the needle through that thread. I want to come in beside it. So I've done that without piecing my thread, but I need to have one thread under this long thread to the left and one to the right, because I'm going to tie my thread over this long thread. Now I'm going to pull these threads until they become tight. So I'm just giving them a little tug from the center, and now I can take my pegs off because my stitches are already come through the holes. I'm going to pull my thread from top to bottom, not from side to side. And I'm going to keep pulling these threads until I get them tight enough till I get a little ping sound on my stitches on the outside. And then I'm going to tie a double knot. I leave my threads long until I decide whether or not I want to cut them off or decorate them with some beads. I've got 2 more things to show you. One, I'll be washi taping in the envelope in the center page, and I'm going to show you a quick way to make a file folder using an envelope. On my cheat sheet, there are two envelopes. There's my Junk Journal Ideas honeybee envelope, and there's 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲's little decorative envelope. You can make up either one of these envelopes. All you got to do is put a piece of washi tape across the inside of the flap, turn it over, and tape it down to the page where you want to show it off. Once you've opened this envelope up, you can use it as a pocket. I used this beautiful pink vintage washi tape I found in my mum's stash, and the honeybee envelope just looks so pretty here. I had lots of leftover page papers, so I thought, well, I don't really want to hoard them, so I grabbed some of these envelopes. I packed some up and put them in my shop if you like them. There's 10 to a pack. All I did was cut off both ends. What this does is it just opens it up so I can use it as a file folder. So then I've got this funny shape left here, so I cut this off as well. You can cut the flap off if you just want, you know, like a front and a back page type of folder. If it's too tall for your journal, you'll need to cut off a little bit of the height as well. But for me, I'm going to leave the flap on, and I'm going to actually fold my flap over so it's wider, and that makes my whole file folder a little bit narrower. I do a test fit to make sure it's going to fit in my journal. I'm also going to use this tear sheet. I grab all my scraps that were left over from the pages, and I just start gluing them down. It's just like a collage sheet. Just glue all over it. You can leave the back uncovered if you like this, because I'm just going to sit it in my journal. I might even glue it to a page. I'm not sure yet. You can put a piece of notepad paper in here for journaling on. You can staple it in. There's so many things you could do with this. You could put it in a pocket, or you could just leave it sit between the pages as is. It won't fall out. I've made both these beautiful little junk journals using nothing but free digital downloads from our favorite creators here on YouTube. I've added a cheat sheet so you can see which digitals I used on which pages, which ones I put on the back side of these pages. It's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to follow along. I've put the link to that cheat sheet in the description box below. I'm going to start the flip through showing you the narrow journal first, and then I'll show you the wider one.
Blue sky come bearing up before us. We hang on the hem of your gown. Blue sky come, promise not to leave us. Tarry not to our town. There's a darkness in the valley, heavy branches crack and split. If we holler, will you hurry? Can you hear us through the wind? Blue sky calm, dancing in between us. stitches through our homes. Bring a lantern, bring it quickly. Joy's not to be a crone. I'm hushing the dog on the chain. I'm lining up stones on the edge of the bank. Rally the troops for another refrain. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly to myself. I'm buried beneath the sand. There's no way softly to myself. I'm buried beneath the sand. There's no way to speak or reach out my hand. Watching the paper slowly unfold. Bracing for news that I can't bear to hold. While I'm singing this song to myself. I sing this softly to myself. Tore up my jeans on the fence. This iron road I cannot bend, but my walking is life when I walk with a friend. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly to myself. I'm waking up early again, sitting alone and listening. There is no separation from you in the end. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly.